Hello, everyone. Cecil Martin here.
Hey, this is Hunter Henry.
What's up, man? This is Max Crosby, part of Raider Nation.
Hey, this is Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman.
Hey, it's Tyler Lockett of the Seattle Seahawks.
Hey, this is Jerry Judah, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, and you're listening to the 14-Yard NFL Podcast.
We're down to just 4 teams vying to lift the Vince Lombardi Trophy at Super Bowl 60 in San Francisco in February. Those 4 teams are the Denver Broncos, New England Patriots, Seattle Seahawks, and the Los Angeles Rams. And a remarkable divisional round has presented us with 4 new teams at the conference championship stage compared to 12 months ago, and 2 teams that missed the playoffs entirely last season. I mean, I cannot wait to talk about this Final Four heading into the championship games. So without further ado, let's get going. You're listening to the 14 Yards NFL podcast. I'm your host, Sam Moores. This is the main show, so the full big show of the 14 Yards podcast network, which is your home for British commentary on the NFL. Welcome back if you're a regular listener. It's great to have you with us again. And if you're new around here, welcome. If you enjoy the show today, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe on YouTube, or if you listen on your podcast platform, wherever it be, feel free to leave us a review. It really helps us reach more NFL fans, both in the UK and across the pond. And yeah, I'm going to tell you a bit about our network. It ranges from team-specific podcasts to written content on our website. And one of the hosts from one of the podcasts joins me now. It's Liam Horsley of the Go from 2 podcasts. Welcome back to the pod, mate. You actually joined me for the season prediction pod back in week 1. And you'll be delighted to know that you only predicted 2 of these Final 4 to even make the playoffs. I mean, what a weird season it's been.
Yeah, weird season. Slightly worse quality than we've seen, but not any less fun for us viewers, for sure. It's been super fun, very random, like we said. Yeah, not the best quality season, but half the reason you watch the sports for fun and for drama and for new news and intrigue. So we've definitely got that this year. So yeah, excited to break down last weekend's games and talk about Championship Sunday.
I mean, we had certainly storylines this season. That's been the brilliant thing about this season is we've had so many storylines. I mean, you had Denver and Seattle missing the playoffs. I had 3 of the 4 teams in, but I had Seattle last in the division. So again, that take us aged very poorly. You're looking at how bad the Cardinals were last year. As a Chiefs fan, Liam, you've not had a postseason as a neutral in more than a decade. How weird of a feeling has that been this year?
Yeah, it's a good shout, really. I don't think because my family as well were Giants fans when I was a kid. I was watching Giants playoff games because that was when they were Super Bowl, Eli Manning sort of era as well. So they were in their playoffs most years as well. So yeah, it's been strange. It's been nice to get back into it because the last few weeks of the regular season I was a bit demotivated with football, with work and stuff. So yeah, it's been pretty good. Like I said, it's been quite fun to watch. A bit sloppy at times, as we'll probably talk about. But yeah, I've relatively enjoyed it. I'd rather my team be there, but as anyone listens to the pod knows who's listened to me before, I love the off-season. So my team's going to be more involved in the off-season this year than ever before. So I'll look forward to that. But yeah, it's been cool to not worry about what Tony Romo's saying in a CBS game and just enjoying it and not caring about the 2 teams involved. Although I did want the Bills to win, annoyingly, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, so.
Yeah, let's go on to that game now. Sean Payton's Denver Broncos were the first team to secure their ticket to the festival that is Championship weekend by beating the Bills in Saturday's early game, which went to overtime. I mean, it was a dramatic one, certainly. The Athletic described it as an instant classic, and I can go with that. This was the game that saw the end of Sean McDermott's tenure in Buffalo as he was fired on Monday after 9 seasons with the team. The Bills had their most turnovers in a game since Josh Allen's rookie season in 2018 and still almost won this one because of how good their quarterback is. Despite those 4 turnovers, he led the week in total EPA and he got his team back into a game they were once trailing by 13 points. Buffalo led by 4 after scoring 17 unanswered points in the second half, but Bo Nix hit Marvin Mims for a touchdown with a minute remaining to give Denver the 3-point lead. Matt Prater then kicked a game-tying field goal with 10 seconds to go to take the game to overtime. And then it was then that a stat popped up that Josh Allen had never won an overtime game. He was 0-6 in games that ended in overtime coming into this one. And it looked like that streak might end as Buffalo forced Denver to punt on their guaranteed possession, meaning that Buffalo only needed a field goal to win. And Brandon Cooks looked to have got them in field goal range, getting his hands on a jump ball to convert a 3rd and 11. But just as it looked like Cooks had possession as he hit the ground, Jaquan McMillan came away with the football, the Broncos defensive back. And after 2 defensive pass interference plays, the Broncos were catapulted into the red zone, where Will Lutz kicked them into a home AFC Championship game. And then after all that, the biggest news of them all, going into that game, they're going into that AFC Championship game without quarterback Bo Nix after he broke a bone in his right ankle on the penultimate play before the field goal. I mean, there's so much to talk about from this game, mate, isn't there?
Yeah, there's probably 3 games really where there's lots to talk about, and then one where there's not as much to talk about. And this one, there's definitely a lot to talk about. Yeah, quick synopsis for me. I think the better team lost. I am biased, as in I don't really like the Broncos. I don't think they're that good either. Spoiler. And I do like the Bills. I shouldn't as a Chiefs fan, but I do like the Bills. So yeah, I thought the best team lost, but yeah, Josh Allen did lose them the game. Unfortunately, sometimes turnovers are more important than great plays that get you 80-yard drives and a field goal. Do you know what I mean? Because anyone who loves EPA and stuff like I do, this is where, people who don't love those sort of stats come at you and say, well, yeah, they still lost the game, which is true. And he probably did lose them the game. There's other factors. Roster. I don't think the refs were a factor, which I know we'll probably chat about, as in I actually agree with the refs. But yeah, you had the refs, you had the roster, you had some injuries. You had the Broncos defense, probably top 3 in the NFL. But I think it comes down to Josh, unfortunately, making some decisions that cost him the game. And then also probably Joe Brady with some play calls he'd like to take back. There was lots of first down runs in the 4th quarter and in overtime where the Broncos could just sell out for 1-yard stops over and over again, and they just didn't learn from that. And then, yeah, threw another pick. So, yeah, fun game, crazy storylines after, which I know we're gonna talk about. But yeah, for me, best team lost. But as I said on our podcast, Broncos were quite consistent. I thought they were good throughout the whole game, not great. The Bills had great drives, they had great stops, then they had terrible drives, they had terrible plays on defense. So yeah, I think the more consistent team won, but I think the Bills were better. It's just they just had too many big mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there, to be honest with you. And I mean, we'll get onto the referee, and obviously there's a 2 pass interference calls, and then the main one is being the interception. Thomas, yeah, I agree with you. I do kind of agree with the refs. So there's one pass interference call that I may not agree with.
Yeah, same. But it was rushing the pass. It was roughing the passer anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so that's the same as me. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and then the only thing you could sort of debate with the interception is you can compare it to the one that Aaron Rodgers had a couple of weeks ago, but which was ruled a catch. So it's an interesting scenario, but yeah. I'm assuming you think that it was a fair interception.
Yeah, I think it was fair when you look at the rules. Yeah, again, there's definitely going to be examples where they didn't follow the rules, but that was that ref's fault who didn't follow the rules, not this ref, I think, for me, who probably did follow the rules. I can't remember if it was a podcast or if it was the broadcast, but basically, if that ball would have popped up, it wouldn't have been a catch. And the same thing happened. Rather than it pop up into the ground, someone pulled it out as he was losing control. So he didn't survive the ground for me. That was the key. I know he had the ball in the air. I know he had it secured. But then the minute he's on the floor, if you look, the ball's moving, and then the defender's in his rights to take it. I think if you're a Bills fan and you agree by that, I think at best it's incomplete. But for me, I think it was a pick. But there's no way it was a catch. It's either incomplete or it's an interception. I think it's an interception. So I thought it was fair. I'm with you on the pass interference for the corner straight after. That was a joke. But then roughing the passer, for anyone who hasn't watched it, at the same time was quite egregious from Bosa. But yeah, I think it was a catch. It's a shame. And the receiver's got to do a better job for his quarterback there, bringing it in Brandon Cooks. But I am kind of with the refs, and that does pain me to say as someone who doesn't like the Broncos. But yeah, I just thought it was a catch, and Bills had plenty of other chances to win. I don't think you can say it came down to one moment, personally.
Yeah, I mean, well, because of this loss, Sean McDermott has gone. He's gone despite 8 playoff wins in 8 seasons. But Buffalo could never get over the hump under him. Sean McDermott and Josh Allen are the head coach and quarterback with the most wins without reaching a Super Bowl in history, most playoff wins. How do you feel about this decision, and where do you think they go from here?
Yeah, I'm mixed. I think that I thought he probably should have got fired last year. I think this year they've done it at a time where the coaches available to them are maybe not the best pool of candidates. Because if they'd have done it last year, they'd have had, Ben Johnson probably would have took this job over Chicago, for example. So I can see why they've done it. And personally, as a Chiefs fan, I always enjoy playing them in the playoffs because his defense is so predictable. They're very good in the regular season, but then in the playoffs, they're not. But for me, I think the failings are more on the GM, and the GM gets a promotion out of this. So, yeah, if I'm a Phils fan or the owner, I think it's either both of them or none of them. I don't think McDermott's more at fault than the GM. I think the GM's more at fault. And I know you've been working all day, so I don't know if you saw, but there's been some crazy Phils press conferences happening today. And let's just say Brandon Bean doesn't come across very good in that. And
I saw the Keon Coleman one. Yeah, I saw him basically say that it was a coach decision to pick Keon Coleman, and yeah, I was in a couple where the owner hasn't really come out of it in a great light either.
No.
From what I've seen, and yeah, again, it's like Bean. I think I saw that he's drafted very few. I think 2 Pro Bowlers he's drafted in his time.
Ever, yeah. Josh Allen. And, Cook.
Yeah, it's like that's a very, very poor record. I mean, we'll talk about it later on, but there have been some other GMs that have been fired that have got a way better record than that. In terms of drafting talent. The Falcons GM has an unbelievable draft class, but he got the quarterback position wrong and he lost his job. It is interesting.
What do you think? Obviously, they're a division rival. Are you as a fan? It's always a good litmus test. If you're happy,
I mean, I'm just happy I don't have to pay. I'm just happy I don't have to play against Sean McDermott's defense again. To be honest with you, because that's the Dolphins have struggled. I mean, 2 or 3 very few picks this time as a Dolphins quarterback, but the majority of them that he did throw were against this Buffalo defense. I honestly think he threw about 10 interceptions against Sean McDermott's teams and I think he threw 3 in the Thursday night game this year. Maybe something like that. Yeah, it's quite a few of those came this year, but yeah, it's I think he's a great coach. I think what he does with his defense, but the problem is, they've not been able to get over the hump. If we're talking about sort of them, the Bengals, I think Zach Taylor should have gone before Sean McDermott should have gone, in my honest opinion. Especially with the whole of the AFC North changing. But yeah, so yeah, I was a bit shocked, but when you actually do think about it, and again, the way, like, basically Josh Allen has saved this poor roster being built by the 2 of them have saved it. So I think by Bean, I do think it should be Bean that should have gone out those sort of 3 big figures in that organisation. So yeah, certainly fascinating one for sure. We'll go on to the next game before we go on to talking about the Broncos in the championship game. The Patriots will be playing the Broncos in the AFC Championship game after they beat the Texans in a wild 8-turnover game. The highest amount of turnovers in a game in playoff history is 9. That's how mental this game was. It was very close to that, and I honestly think if the Texans had stayed in this one towards the end, we might have had a 9th turnover. To be honest with you, with the win, New England continues a 15-year streak in the AFC, where the championship game has featured one of the Patriots or the Chiefs. I mean, how the hell has that happened? It's crazy, isn't it? The 2010 AFC Championship game between the Steelers and the Jets was the last game not to feature either of those 2 teams. Quarterbacks, we'll talk about them. Drake May, CJ Stroud. Neither of them was particularly great in the snow in this one. It was cold, and then the snow came down afterwards, and it was a defensive feast for both teams. But New England were a better team in this one. They could never put Houston away, despite the 4 first-half interceptions from CJ Stroud. The Texans were within a score for the majority of this game because of how good their defense was. The Texans actually got a bit of momentum after reducing the deficit to 8 points coming out of the half, and they had a great opportunity to level the game after forcing Drake May to fumble for a 4th time. Houston recovered 2 of those fumbles, but then Woody Marks went and put it on the ground himself. And then from there, Houston did get another stop, but they couldn't imagine a field goal from there. And then, the Patriots ran away with it, 28-16. The Texans' offense finished the game punt, turnover on downs, and that allowed New England to score that one more touchdown and run down the clock. What do you make of this game, Liam?
This game was so sloppy that I saw 3 non-Chiefs fans tweet, "Maybe we do miss the Chiefs and the Ravens making the playoffs." And I was like, "Yeah, you do." The slop that is this game, but this was fun as a neutral because it was just complete chaos. But yeah, quality wasn't good. On our pod, we've loved the Texans all season. We love the defense. I think the offense is better than people give it credit for with the talent because the offensive line's poor, the running backs are pretty poor. But I thought both teams were pretty rough in this game. First half, especially on offense, first half was a disaster. Second half, I think Drake May did actually play relatively well, to be honest. Especially considering it's a huge game and it's the biggest game he's ever played in. But yeah, the story for the game for me is 100% CJ Stroud, someone who loved him coming out of college. Just doesn't look like he has it right now. It seems, I'm not no expert on what's going on in the building, but my view from where I sit is maybe the issues on the offensive line have kind of got to him, and now he just not necessarily seeing ghosts, but just can't handle contact, can't handle pressure. Because anytime someone was around him, he either threw a pick, threw it up in the air for a near pick, threw it at someone's feet, or intentionally grounded it. It was actually probably one of the worst sort of playoff quarterback displays I've seen from a non terrible quarterback. You know what I mean?
Well, statistically, Stroud and Aaron Rodgers last week are 2 of the worst we've seen in playoff history statistically. And judging by how just how both those games were, you can see why. I was going to ask you that. I was going to say, do you think he's just been broken by the sort of 3 years, 2.5 years, probably you could say, of bad offensive line play? Or his receivers getting constantly hurt as well was really cost him. I mean, Tank Dell's had so much time out, Nicky Collins had so much time out. They lost Dalton Schultz in this game. The offensive line got even more banged up in this game. Everything just went wrong for the Texans, didn't it? Even with how good that defense is.
Yeah, I think he's let down to some extent. D'Amico's a great coach, defense is incredible, but as a head coach, half your job is you don't have to do the offense, but you have to support the offense. And they've just, through 3 years, shown no plan that they can run the ball, no plan that they can protect the quarterback. And their scheme is never that inventive. It's very, and the commentators, you can always hear it when they talk about it. The commentators know what plays are coming, whether it's a first down run. Even on this game, when I watched it back, there was 2 instances where they go, they'll probably throw a screen here, and they throw the screen there. It's they're too predictable. So I think D'Amico and the GM has to take some accountability for the offensive line. Anyone who didn't like CJ in college was because he didn't move around a lot, and you can see that now. He doesn't want to move around from pressure. He kind of just sits there, enjoys playing from the pocket, but if the pocket's not clean, it's a nightmare for him. So yeah, I think it's on the organization and the GM and head coach to some extent, but he's still got to play better, I think, for himself. I really liked him in year 1 and coming out of college, but the last 18 months, I think he's just regressed. And yeah, I'm a bit worried really in terms of how good is he? He might just be the 15th best quarterback in the league, which, as someone who ranked him 7 or 8, 18 months ago, I think it's pretty disappointing if you're the Texans and he ends up being the 15th quarterback in the league. It's not what you want. So yeah, it is a lot on them, but I think he's got to take some accountability too, because some of the picks are just egregious.
All right, we're going to New England now. I know you're a big Drake May guy. You have been for years. You talk about him glowingly on this podcast even before he was drafted. Are you bought in on this Mike Vrabel Patriots team, or are you one of those guys who feel like they've been lucky? They played a really, really easy schedule. How do you feel about New England?
Bit of both. I'm in on Mike Vrabel as a great head coach. I'm in on Drake May as a great quarterback. I think he was 5th or 6th in Steven Ruiz's rankings. I think you're going to struggle to get him outside your top 10 if you're anyone, even if you're someone who favors experience. I think top 10 is the worst you're gonna get for him. But yeah, there's no denying that this isn't the same route that other teams have got to the title game have had to play in previous years. Like the Bills have had to do what I think Bengals Chiefs, they've had to do Ravens Chiefs, Chiefs have had to do Ravens Bills. It's like it's not quite that, is it? But you can only beat who's in front of you. So yeah, I'm impressed because it's still impressive to turn around the team like that into this. But yeah, they're one of the weaker title teams we've seen in a while. But who cares? They're probably going to, as we'll talk about in a minute, probably going to get to Super Bowl. And Drake May, in a one-off game, could probably beat anyone outside of the top 2-3 quarterbacks in a one-off game. So I think they're not as good as some people think, but they've got a great head coach and a great quarterback, and that's good.
Yeah, I absolutely do feel they've been lucky in the schedule, but they are. You said it there. They are an incredibly well coached team on both sides of the ball, especially after losing their defensive coordinator for personal reasons during the season as well. You know, like they are outstanding situationally. The Vrabel always has been. The Vrabel has basically ruined the Dolphins' season. Well, I think twice as a head coach. So you know, I know this team can be. This is both the Titans when the Dolphins are going for a playoff burst towards the end of the season. They can beat anyone, and they have a quarterback with a great future. Again, if he doesn't win MVP this year, I can see him winning an MVP another year for sure. They go into the game on Sunday as favourites, and if they win the championship game, admittedly it's against the Jarrett Stidham-led Denver Broncos, but like, judging by the win against Buffalo was their statement win of the season. The win against the Ravens was a real big statement as well, because again that was such a huge game. Obviously Lamar Jackson didn't play in the second half, but Tyler Huntley, when he played for the Ravens, was a pretty good quarterback this year compared to the Tyler Huntley that was in Miami last year, for example. Like he played at a pretty high level when he did fill in for Lamar in the second half of the season. I thought they're better like Washington last year. I thought they're probably are going to regress in 2026, but they deserve to be where they are for sure. I mean, yeah, they are 5.5 point favourites in this game. I mean, this is going to be a fascinating one. I mean, say what you like about Bo Nix, but he has been so clutch this season. He's led 8 game-winning drives this season, which has tied the record for the most in NFL history. Like he had a good season in the big moments. Well, they have a new quarterback, the Broncos, in a big moment now. Jarrett Stidham, who again has not thrown a pass for a couple years. He did look pretty good in the preseason, but yeah, he's not thrown a pass for either of the last 2 seasons. How do you? What do you feel Sean Payton's going to do with him in this game? Because he's got a good record with backup quarterbacks. Think about all the ones the Saints had over the years.
Well, for his ego, he will love to win, get to a title game, win a title, like an AFC title game with Jarrett Stidham. That's like Sean Payton's like crack. That is to look that good. Yeah, to show you how I feel about this game, I tweeted as soon as the Broncos game was over. Before I knew about Bo Nix, I didn't even know about Stidham. I was like, right, whoever wins the NFC's won the Super Bowl. Like, if Josh Allen's out, there's just no way. Yeah. There's no way in hell that AFC are beating the Rams or the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, in my opinion. That's how I feel about the game. But in terms of Peyton, yeah, I think they're gonna have to run the ball well. They did at times in the last game, but it's been a bit up and down. I know
J.K. Dobbins might be coming back, yeah.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, but that's still a long time out. But yeah, they're going to run it well. They've got to go for it on 4th down, be aggressive, because you need to give yourself as many chances to score as possible. So yeah, I think that's what it'll be. It'll be a couple of trick plays, some good screens that he'll dial up, some aggressive 4th down calls, and then lean on that defense to try and get a turnover or 2. And, if the defense can score you 10 points, as in like a touchdown maybe, and then get you close enough to a field goal in another drive, right, that's a good enough head start for Stidham to do something. But I haven't fact checked this, but I think my co-host said he's never won an NFL game as starting quarterback. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, I don't hold much hope for them. But if Drake May fumbles the ball 4 times, which he could do because it's the biggest game he's ever played in his life against a great defense, they could have a chance. But yeah, I think it'll take a bit of a miracle. But Sean Payton's proved before, like you said, with Teddy Bridgewater, he can win a game. So yeah, I think they'll do some crazy fun stuff. Try and make the game more entertaining for us neutrals and try and score some points. But I'm a bit worried that Stidham's not going to be able to cope because the Patriots' pass rush is still pretty good. So yeah, I'm worried as a neutral. I hope it's a good game, but I'm a bit worried.
Right, let's go on to picking this one then. It's 8 p.m. on Sunday. Nance and Romo, New England are favored by 5.5 points, as I said. Interestingly enough, Denver are 6-0 with that crew, that Nance and Romo and Tracy Wilson crew this year. They also have never lost to New England in the championship game, going 0-2 in history against the Patriots. Which way are you going here?
I would have picked this if it was 9.5. So I'm going to go Patriots.
That's fair, yeah. I'll go for Denver to cover. I don't know about win, but I feel like they could make it a close one. I hope it's a close one because I don't want to be bored out of my mind going into the NFC Championship game. I can tell you that now. I want to be like locked in by the time that game starts at 11:30 on Sunday night. I feel like Sean Payton again has something up his sleeve, and this Denver pass rush can get to Drake May. Drake May, I think it's fumbled like in like the mid-teens, like 13, 14 times this
fumbled a lot in his first 2 years in college as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like the Broncos defense, that pass rush is, obviously it's a record for sacks and pressure, and it's at the NFL record this year for sack differential. No one has ever had a better sack differential than the Broncos in NFL history. If any pass rush is going to get to Trey May, it's going to be this pass rush. So I'm going to go for Denver to come and win the spread, but I don't know if they're going to win it or not. Right, we'll go on to the NFC now. The Seahawks blew out the 49ers 41-6 to reach the NFC Championship game for the first time since 2014. The Rams will play them there after beating the Bears in overtime. We'll start with Seattle. I mean, what performance from Mike McDonald's team, dominating the 49ers as they did in the battle for the 1 seed 2 weeks ago. I picked Seattle to win anyway, but as soon as Rashid Shaheed scored a 95-yard kickoff return to start the game, I knew this game was over. In the 3 games against an offense that was top 10 in pretty much every category, Mike McDonald and Aiden Dirty's defense scored just 2 basically out of the Niners scored just 2 touchdowns, and both of those games were in week 1, so they shut out the high-scoring Niners defense from the end zone in the 2 games to finish the season. In fact, Seattle has allowed just 1 touchdown in its last 3 games. I mean, who would have thought so soon after moving on from the likes of Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, they'd be hosting another NFC Championship game? I mean, the two of us, we both had Seattle missing out on the playoffs heading into this year. I mean, how have you enjoyed watching them grow in 2025?
Yeah, my caveat to save myself is I did say they might have the best defense in the NFL on that same pod, and they do have the best defense in the NFL. But yeah, Kubiak and Darnold definitely played better than I thought. But yeah, it's a great story. I don't think they're the best team in the NFL like some people do, but I think they're top 2 or 3. I think probably the Rams are the best team in the NFL, which we'll find out, I guess. But yeah, this is a cool story. Defense is amazing. The GM's done an incredible job with his draft picks. Mike McDonald's probably the best defensive play caller in the NFL. He probably went against the top 5 offensive play caller in Shanahan, and it's not all about the play caller, obviously, but kind of showed how good he is in this game, which is pretty cool. Yeah, to score 41 points, and then you look at the box score and you're like, yeah, Sam Darnold didn't actually have to do anything. That's pretty impressive. So, yeah, this game may have dampened my dreams of Kenneth Walker being a Chief in the summer, but he did help me win a playoff sort of fantasy pick'em league that I'm in, which I'm happy with. So yeah, I think they're a very good team. Defense is the best in the NFL by far. Play caller's the best in the NFL by far. Offensive play caller's good. Offensive line's good. Weapons are good. Sam Darnold's not ruining anything quite yet. And yeah, 49ers injuries just caught up with them. I think that's the story. They would have lost anyway, probably if everyone was healthy, but it's remarkable the 49ers are even at this game. So I think it's it was a bigger score than I thought, but I wasn't surprised.
I mean, who would have thought when we did that podcast before the start of the season that Drew Lock would play a significant amount of the 4th quarter in the division round of the playoffs because Seattle have been that good?
Yeah, no one
would have predicted that. Seattle rushed for over 150 yards, They had 0 turnovers, allowed 0 touchdowns, and had fewer than 10 yards of penalties and scored a special teams touchdown. That is literally perfect football, and no team has managed to do all that and score 40 points in NFL history. So it's one of the best performances we have ever seen, certainly the most complete. I mean, this game ran through Kenneth Walker. You mentioned it there. A monster day of 3 touchdowns. A line that stuck with me from our predictions podcast. You said you were excited for Seattle to have a normal offense. Obviously, it's not really been the case with Geno Smith. It was a very, especially the last year with Ryan Grubb. It was a very, very un-NFL like offense. For a few years, we've been wanting them to stick with their run game. That has certainly paid off this season. Kenneth Walker has had a great season. Zach Charbonnet as well had a great season. They won't have him against the Rams. Zach Charbonnet, he tore his ACL in this game, so he obviously missed the rest of the season. Let's talk about this run game. Obviously, Walker's had a great end to the season. They finally let him have carries around the end zone as well, which has been a thing for the last couple of years. Charbonnet has been a great 1-2 punch. And do you think that Charbonnet will missing him against the Rams will be a big miss, because this even though JSN has been an amazing receiver, one of the best seasons we've ever seen, I actually think this run game is the Seattle offense, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, ironically, it's a Shanahan McVay scheme that Kubiak obviously runs, I don't like the phrase "run to set up the pass" because they don't. They kind of use each other to make plays look very similar. So I'm kind of with you, really, that it's the run game and the defense that actually make the offensive explosive plays more meaningful, because Sam Darnold knows he can take a risk and take a shot on 3rd and 10 because he knows his defense probably won't give up a score the other way. And the run game's the same. They set up the run to make big play action shots down the field. So, yeah, I think Charbonnet is a big miss. The reason Kenneth Walker might even leave Seattle is his negative is inconsistency. So he was amazing in this game, but it wouldn't shock anyone if they called 3 outside zone runs and he reads it wrong and runs for 1 yard, whereas Charbonnet was just a nice sort of break where they had a bit more of a speed kind of player who's better on at catching, quite good on 3rd down. So they will definitely miss him. But I still think Kenneth Walker on 1st down will be able to run the ball well in that game, and maybe not run as well as this. I think the 49ers defensive line was absolutely knackered by the time we got to the second half. But yeah, you're right. I think the run game definitely is one of their biggest weapons. You don't want Sam Darnold dropping back 40 times against any defense, but especially the Rams.
We'll talk about San Francisco a little bit before we get on to previewing the game and talk about the Bears-Rams game, which was really fun as well. I mean, weird, great season. Again, Kyle Shanahan, one of the greatest coaching seasons we've ever seen. Fred Warner and Nick Bosa on defense missed so much of the season, and fair play to Robert Saleh for having, again, a great defense, even when his defense is playing above its weight to end the season. And then the injuries in offense, Purdy missing 8-9 games, George Kittle missing 8-9 games. Those are 2 real big pieces in the offense. And they still managed to have a battle for the 1 seed, still managed to get to the divisional round. Couldn't quite get to the NFC Championship game, which obviously that's what they always do under Kyle Shanahan. But I mean, yeah, it's great season for them. What do you expect for them in the future? Obviously, they've lost Robert Saleh, and he's going to be the head coach of the Titans. And yeah, they're moving on from Brandon Ayuk, who didn't play this year. Hopefully they can get Ricky Pearsall healthy because he's still to stay healthy. I think it's a really impressive year, especially with all the amount of rookies that are playing on this team for the Niners. How do you see them shaping up in next year or in a few years' time?
It's hard to tell because normally regression comes both ways. So they should be healthier next year, but they should be healthier every year, and they're not. So it's a hard one to talk about, really, because they've drafted well. They went aggressive on the defensive line. I think that paid off. But then 2 of those guys got hurt this year, so they've got to come back. Kittle's obviously a year older. He's got to come back. Ayuk's probably going to get cut or traded. He hasn't turned up to work for like 2 months. But yeah, this was a great job. Shanahan, I think, as always, will go and find another good coach to coach with him, because that's what he does. There's a lot of talk. Maybe Jim Schwartz from the Browns could be a guy they try and offer him a lot of money to come over with the goal of they want a DC who's great, but who doesn't really want to be a head coach anymore. They stopped losing him. I think Jim Schwartz is probably the guy. But yeah, I think it's just about improving the offensive line. I think it depends about Kittle in terms of weapons, to be honest, how they think his health's going to be. And then going again in the secondary, because I think the secondary was probably caught out quite a lot this year as players went hurt. So, yeah, I think it's a great season, great position, but they're in limbo because they're not often bad enough to get a good pick. And then they're not quite winning the Super Bowl like he obviously wants them to. But yeah, I'd feel good if I was them. I just would feel bad that I'm in a division with two really good teams, unfortunately.
And two really good coaches as well.
Yeah.
Let's get on to that game, the final game of the weekend. The Rams are in their third NFC Championship game in 8 seasons after beating the Bears in overtime. I mean, I know you're a big Sean McVay fan, a big Rams fan. I love this roster that Les Snead has built. I'm curious what you think of that end to the season and the start to the playoffs, because yeah, they're here, but it's not really been pretty for the Rams this last month or so of the season, has it?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Cornerback positions regressed a bit. They've had a couple of injuries now. They lost Witherspoon and Forbes.
Yeah.
I think that affected the defense, definitely. And then for offense, I think Stafford's not played well for a couple of weeks. And then the offensive line, they changed the right tackles a couple of times. But yeah, I think they're really out of rhythm completely. Will not surprise me if this game we'll talk about in a minute. They're in rhythm. That's just what Stafford does. But yeah, they're just out of rhythm. I think the weather obviously didn't help this game. They're still a warm weather team, whether they pretend they say they're not, but evidence if you look at the stats shows they are better when they're not outside in freezing weather. But yeah, I haven't really got a reason apart from secondary is injured and it was already bad, and then I think Stafford's just gone down a dip, and when he has a bit of a dip, then they're easier to play against because he can't really move. So if he's not throwing it well and he can't move, everyone just sells out to stop the run. But yeah, I'd expect them to bounce back. I think McVay didn't call a very good game in this one. I think he'll need to be better next week. So I'm hopeful we get a good game and they play much better. But yeah, you're right. I think they've had a pretty poor finish, which is not what you want going into a Super Bowl run.
Well, especially when I think the two of us probably are the best team in the NFL as well. Yeah, it's we have quite high standards for this team. I mean, that defensive line, I mean, they get so much hype. They are great players on the defensive line. No sacks. Bears ran for 152 yards. They got dominated by the Bears offensive line in this game. Joe Tooney stepping into left tackle after the injuries at that position. They guys on left guard. Yeah, he was great. He had a great game. Joe Tooney did, to be fair to him. Yeah, it was. Yeah, fair play to the Bears defense. And Dennis Allen's defense has grown so much from what it was at the start of the year to what it finished. To be honest with you, yeah, I think the Rams are the better team. But if you ask me who played a better game, for sure, I'm saying it's the Bears. But they made it difficult for themselves. They went for it on 4th down 6 times. They only converted 3 of those. Caleb Williams also gave the ball away twice in regulation, which then let the Rams get back in this one and take a lead. And I'm glad I stayed up for this one because the finish was epic. One of those 4th down stops was at the 2, with just 3 minutes remaining, 3 minutes 3 seconds. The Bears trailing 17-10. They needed some luck to get the ball back, and you mentioned it with Sean McVay. His play calling was so conservative after that point. I think it was 5 or 6 straight runs, and the Bears defense got a stop with a minute 50, and that gave Keller time to make some magic happen. He did it once more. 4th and 4 at the 14-yard line. The Rams sell out a blitz. So he runs about 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage, trying to avoid being taken down, and then hits Cole Kmet in stride in the back of the end zone. 45 or so air yards. Beautiful throw that very few players can make. I talked about the Josh Allen one last week. I said that is like what an average tour throw looks like, and he's been drilled to the ground. Like that, and it was a very similar play with Ken Williams this week. I don't know about you, but I think Ben Johnson should have gone for 2 after that. Bear in mind he's already gone for it on 4th down a lot at that point in the game where he came from in Detroit. Like I was expecting to go for 2 at that point, and it shocked me that he didn't.
In a regular season game, he would have gone for 2, but because the playoff overtime, you guarantee yourself a possession. The percentages are probably in your favour because he thinks he could probably win, especially if they'll have 2 chances because they're winning the game potentially, whereas this is only 50-50 chance of going for 2. So I think that's why. I don't know. Not many people would go for 2. Difficult. I think if they hadn't had so many stops, I think he said after the game that their goal to go situation last week and this week was a disaster. Their first, their 5, he calls it the 5-yard run game, where it's less than 5 yards to go for a touchdown. They didn't get any of them. So I think he was just like nothing in short yardage is working, and he didn't want to put that pressure on them after such a good play. Obviously, everyone's pretty hyped as well. So I can see both sides of it. I can see why he didn't, but I think McVay was probably delighted he didn't. That McVay knew they'd get another chance, but it was a cool throw to end the game. Really fun way to finish it. Overtime is more dramatic because you think one team screwed it up, the Bears are going to win. Then you think they've screwed it up, and then the Rams obviously do end up kicking it. So the end was fun, but I'm on the different page to some. I think I've heard everyone saying how great Caleb was, but I don't think he's played very well in the playoffs. He's just made 3 really great, incredible throws, but I think his QBR and his EPA was the worst of the weekend in this game. I think he's very up and down still, and I think the pick was pretty rough to end the game to Cam Curl. I think he's just not read that out at all. Maybe they could have gone for 2, but they were just clearly spooked by all the fourth downs and all the stops at the goal line, I think.
Yeah, but with Caleb, he's grown so much. Like that play at the end of the game is what 50% of his plays felt like last year, whereas that was a rarity this year. He has got better in his second year. I do think he'll be a success, but I agree with you. For me, like Drake May, for example, in that class is a way better quarterback, and I've seen Jaden Daniels play better in big moments than Caleb already, and he's had like so many games hurt as well. So that's just how I feel. But I do like all. In fact, I like Bo Nix. I like all 4 of those guys from that class quite well. To be honest with you, not to be for the Bears. After they got to the verge of field goal range in overtime after getting a stop. Like, as I mentioned, it felt like the Bears were going to win. Then Caleb threw that interception, and 3 minutes later, they were out the playoffs after Harrison Mevis, the thicker kicker, made a 42-yard field goal to win the game for the Rams. So it just wasn't to be for Chicago. What have you made of their season before we talk about this AFC Championship game?
Yeah, cool. A great season. The fans are obviously best. A lot of them, it's probably the best one they've ever seen. I think they know they've got the quarterback of the future, even though I think some of the playoff talk's been a bit overrated. But he's good. Like, I've always thought he was good, so he's good now. And you've got a great head coach. So you've got the 2 most important things. You've got loads of cap space. You've got some good young players. The fans are back involved. So I think things are great, and it's been a great season. This is just kind of one step too far. I think it's probably an annoying way to end because they arguably were the better team. If they got blew out, it would be like, look, we've had a great season. The Rams are the Rams, McVay and Stafford. But because it was so close, it's probably more annoying for the fans. It's been a great season. And unlike Washington, I think they'll probably be, maybe not in that game again, but I think they'll be a, top 7, 8 seed vying for the playoffs again next year because it doesn't feel like luck. It feels like good foundations with some cap space and draft picks to grow next year. So, I think good season, but one step too far for them.
Right, let's get into talking about this NFC Championship game. Really looking forward to this one. I love their 2 battles in the regular season, the Rams and the Seahawks. It's weird. I felt Seattle probably should have won their first meeting despite all the turnovers that Sam Darnold had, which the Rams won. And I felt the Rams should have won the Thursday night game, but they ended up losing in overtime after they had a big lead in that game. It's very much like it was a true split series in that case. Both teams were in both games. They both played, varyingly, like they both played really well at points. Obviously, the Seattle offense was terrible in the first game. The Rams defense crumbled in the second game. But they're such well coached teams that they can still find a way to win or at least get to a point where I felt they should have won those games. In both occasions, to be honest with you. I mean, what are your sort of keys to victory for both teams here, you could say.
Yeah, I think for the Rams, with the way they're playing, they have to be able to run the ball well and stop the run, probably, to have a chance to win the game. But more run the ball, because I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. If you're just going to make Stafford drop back the whole game with no successful run game, you think he could do it, and he probably could still do it, but the last 5 or 6 weeks and the hit he took to the hand last week or the week before, I think shows that maybe you won't want to do that. So for me, I think it's them being able to run the ball. And then if you can make Sam Darnold a kind of one-dimensional passer, I think as in the last 2 times he's played, the last 2 of the last 3 times he's played the Rams, he's thrown like 3 or more picks. So,
and they're really good at
they're
making him hold on to the ball as well.
exactly.
Well, in Seattle, pretty much the whole time it's been getting it out in sort of 2.5 seconds, whereas his time in Minnesota last year it was a bit more than that. And again, he held on to the football for way too long in the playoff game against the Rams this time last year. For the Vikings, if they basically they put the blueprint out on how to beat Sam Darnold, they did it again in the first game this year. Like this defense knows how to beat him. And again, if they could just make him hold on to the football, then he's not been great this second half of the season. His first half of the season, he was unbelievable, like really unbelievable in terms of numbers. Not been the case the second half of the season. He has regressed as well. So again, so we have got you mentioned there, like he has got a bad record against this Rams defense. I'm can't wait to see how they scheme around that, especially with the loss of Charbonnet.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be key for their 2 tackles to protect against 2 edges as well for the Rams. If they can run it and he can play action it, he can throw screen game, he can throw it 2.5 seconds, then it'll just be a shootout. And that's where it's just like, right, if Stafford plays well, he can win. If Stafford doesn't, they can't win. But I think if you're the Rams, you're like, right, let's try and protect our corners, play 2 safeties high, try and confuse Sam Darnold where we can, make him hold on to it, see if we can pick him off and win the turnover game. Because so many of these big games comes down to turnovers. But yeah, that's it for me. And then I'd say the other key, ironically, is that no one talks about it on our pod. We don't. Special teams. Rams
the Rams bad
teams all year, and the Seahawks haven't had the best. If you look at like some of the numbers, they're not the best, but they have a lot of explosive plays, as we saw last week on special teams. So for me, that will probably be an extra key that could sway it. The Rams might play better on both sides of the ball, but then give up basically de facto 6 or 7 points on special teams and miss a kick, and then you're like, oh no, we've lost ourselves the game. So yeah, they're probably my keys to victory, but this is the best and second best team in DVOA. It's actually the best game ever. If you add the 2 DVOA numbers together, is the best game ever. For me, you've got the best play caller on both sides of the ball in the NFL. And you've probably got top 3 at worst atmosphere in the NFL at Lumen Field. So this should be a cool game and will probably help us wash the Jared Stidham taste out of our mouth from the earlier game. So we'll see.
Right, let's get on to predicting this game. I don't think there's much between these 2 teams, as you mentioned, in terms of DVOA numbers. There's not much at all. Vegas agrees with us there, as Seattle were only 2.5 point favourites. And again, when you balance the home field advantage of that spread as well, it means there's not much spreading these 2 teams at all. Yes, Seattle was slightly favoured, but the Rams were the last team to beat the Seahawks. Which way are you going here?
What was the spread, did you say, sorry?
2.5.
I'm just going to pick the team I picked all year. I think I picked them in. I can't remember if I did or not. I did in the go for 2. I picked Chiefs, Rams, Super Bowl. So I'll just stick with the Rams. To win and cover. But I think this will be a close game.
Oh, I'm going for the Rams too. I've sort of mentioned it earlier. I don't trust Darnold in a game like this. Again, he's not been the same guy since about mid-season. And the run game is now going to be less potent as well. And as much as I love this Mark McDonald's defense, again, shout out to Aidan Durley, obviously British coach as well. He's had some head coach interviews over the past couple of weeks as well. He's defense coordinator for Seattle. Obviously, McDonald's the guy who's calling the plays, but yeah, I love that defense so much. Still go for the Rams because again, I think they've been here before. McVay, Stafford, Stafford's the only quarterback in the other than Rodgers. Him and Rodgers are the only 2 players quarterbacks over the age of 30. This is they've been there, done that. I think that could be key if Stafford's kept that right. If the Rams win, and obviously, I'll pick them to come within 2.5 point spread as well. All right, we'll finish the podcast by going through the latest news regarding the many head coach openings throughout the league. This year there are 10 head coach openings, which is a record. I think it's tied with that of January 2022. In the aftermath of the season, we only really had the Giants, the Falcons, Titans, Browns, Cardinals, and Raiders. So that's 6, which is about what it normally is. Then the Ravens job came up after they fired John Harbaugh after losing that game to the Steelers to finish the season on Sunday Football. And shortly after that, the Dolphins fired Mike McDaniel, and then Mike McTominay's decision to step down, which we covered last week in the podcast, followed by Sean McDermott's firing, has taken us to 10 jobs. 4 of those jobs have been filled. The Giants have hired John Harbaugh. He was the first to come to the market after being one of the last ones to be fired. It sounds like Todd Monken will be their offensive coordinator as well, who, of course, coached Lamar Jackson to an MVP season and probably should have been an MVP season last year as well, in my opinion. The Falcons have hired Kevin Stefanski. They're yet to hire a GM after firing Terry Fontenot, but that process is quite slow at the moment, but they have hired Matt Ryan in the front office, in the football operations portion of the front office. The Dolphins have hired Jeff Hafley and hired Sullivan, the GM from Green Bay as well, as GM. Those two are coming over as tandem from the Packers, and the Titans have hired Robert Saleh. Did any of these moves surprise you?
No, I don't think so. Not really. Salah was slightly surprising. Not that it's a bad pick, but because it seemed like Matt Nagy was likely to get that job. But
especially as Bogonzi came from the Chiefs, the general manager as well.
Yeah, they're close friends as well.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why he didn't get it. There's a lot of pressure on social media and in the area. Obviously, we're not boots on the ground, but apparently a lot of the local media and the papers and the radio and the fans in actually Tennessee were like not happy. So yeah, no, I don't think any of them surprised me. I think maybe Stefanski and Harbaugh, but probably more like Stefanski, would have wished they'd have waited, because I think he probably would have been up there for the Bills job. But yeah, no, none of it really surprised me. I think pretty solid hires. Now, there's people I think probably should have been fired that weren't, etc. But yeah, I think Tomlin actually resigning was probably the only thing that surprised me. But everything else seems, not too surprising. What about you? Obviously, your team's got a new head coach. Probably one of the, obviously we know about him because we're obsessed with the sport. But I'd say the average UK NFL fan won't know much about Hafley. So yeah, what were your thoughts as a Dolphins fan?
It's weird. I mean, I kind of like it. Obviously, someone who has head coach experience, who was at Boston College for a couple of years before coming over to be the Packers DC. He's coached along the Shanahan tree for quite a while. He was with the NFL as an assistant coach before going to Boston College. So he's in that sort of like Robert Saleh mold. Kind of wonder if we'll just keep Frank Smith as offensive coordinator. To be honest with you, he was McDaniel's OC. He didn't call plays, but he had the role of offensive coordinator, and he's got quite a good record of the offensive line. But I don't know. I can't imagine the offense changing too much from where he's come from in terms of his sort of background. And the thing for me, the Dolphins, is Miami has never hired a GM and a head coach at the same time since Stephen Ross has owned the team. It's always been hiring, but they've always fired the GM or the head coach at different times, and they've never really had unity at all, really. So I really like this move because there should be some alignment now with the Dolphins, which is, you tried everything else. Why not try this? I think Mike McDaniel was a great play caller. It was a missed, but honestly, with what the roster is going to look like next year, I don't really think having Mike McDaniel next year is that great of an asset anyway, to be honest with you. So I don't mind it, to be honest with you. I kind of don't mind it. Of these jobs, these hires, which of these do you think you're most confident will work out?
Doesn't really define as workout. Probably. Don't know. It's tricky. I would probably say Stefanski would be my answer. Yeah, it's between Harbaugh and Stefanski because Harbaugh's obviously a really good head coach, but he's such a good head coach to work out. It's probably win a Super Bowl, and I just have no confidence in Joe Shane, the Giants front office, that they'll be able to deliver a Super Bowl. But it's between him and Stefanski. But I think Stefanski's a really good play caller. He's a good coach. I think the roster's relatively good, actually. I think Raheem Morris did a poor job this season. Kind of disappointed. So yeah, probably Stefanski. But I think they could.
The OC hire was terrible in the end. Is that,
it was.
That was a big factor. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but yeah, I'd say I actually think they're not all going to do well, obviously, but they actually all on paper I think could do really well. I'm really intrigued by the Salah hire. I thought he would bring McDaniel with him, but he's now the Chargers OC, which is great for me. You've just got one of the best play callers in the league, coaching Justin Herbert. So cheers for that. But I don't know who he'll bring with him, Salah. But I think if he gets the OC hire right, I think that's a pretty cool hire as well. But Stefanski, I think is. Yeah, I'm surprised the Falcons got him, to be honest. I thought he'd sit out a year or wait for a better job. But yeah, my answer would probably be him. Yeah,
I agree with you, Robert Salah. I think he is a great defensive coach. I think actually he was better than I think people give him credit as a head coach for the Jets as well. Obviously, it's impossible to be a head coach for the Jets. But
I agree.
my biggest gripe with his tenure in New York was the fact that he kept getting the OC hire wrong. That really doesn't worry me about his job because his OC hires were terrible. Obviously went through a couple in New York, and that's so important for Cam Ward. I don't trust him to put together an offensive staff.
Yeah, there's rumours he's going to hire LaFleur again. Which is the same.
Well, there you go.
There's multiple LaFleurs, so there's I can't remember his name. Is it Mike? But there's rumours he's going to hire the same guy. Yes, same guy again, which would be a bit of a red flag.
Well, I've seen Clay Kubiak again as another guy that's in the same mold. He's never called plays before. He's number 2 to Shanahan in San Francisco right now.
I prefer that. But...
It was yes, a bit unknown, but I do think Salah is a great coach. So I'm hoping it goes well for him. When you mentioned there elsewhere, there have been 2 major OC hires from the teams that fired their OCs. Mark McDaniel looks set to call in place Justin Herbert at the Chargers, whilst Drew Petzing has been given the task of turning the Lions offense around. I love the first move. I do really question the second one because he was not liked in Arizona whatsoever. what do you make of those hires?
Yeah, so Drew Petzing plays exactly the sort of way that Jared Goff likes to play. So it makes sense from a sort of under center, run the ball, play action, big shots down the field, outside the numbers. So it makes sense. But yeah, you're right. When the fans of the team he's left are happy, that's never a great sign. The year before, he was seen as one of the next big things, but he didn't call the run game, and the guy who did call the run game goes to Dallas, and then Dallas run game looks great. So now I think we've all realized maybe he's not as good in the run game as people thought. So yeah, I thought this was a weird one. I thought they could have done a better hire. Yeah.
Well, they interviewed Mark Daniel, for example.
I think it's better than the person they hired last year, but I don't think it's the right hire yet. We'll never know if McDaniel had not wanted this job as much behind the scenes, but I think there's other people they could have done. Even Mike Kafka, I think would have been a good hire, for example. So yeah, not great for the Chargers. It's incredible. I think Mike McDaniel is a strange head coach because of his maybe his persona. But yeah, I would have wanted him at my team. So I think that's a great hire. You forgot the Chiefs bringing back Eric Bieniemy, the best coordinator Andy Reid could get, apparently. So there we go.
Yeah, well, there is that. We'll see what happens with Matt Nagy, because I don't know if he's going to get a head coaching job with him.
No, I still wonder if the Titans might convince Salah to make him play calling OC if Matt Nagy wants that, because he hasn't called plays for years. So even if he gets an OC job calling plays, that's better than not doing that. So I wonder if they'll try that. Or I think he was on the Raiders interview list, but I can't see Tom Brady doing that. But we'll see. I'm not going to miss Matt Nagy, so I'm not too worried about that. What do you think about the jobs that are left? Obviously, we've got Ravens, Bills, Steelers, Browns, Cardinals, Raiders. Like, do you think there's some pretty big teams there for us? Do you think?
Well, yeah, there are. I mean, I'm fascinated to see what the Ravens and Bills do because they have quite a few candidates who've been with the team before. Obviously, for the Ravens, they've got the likes of Jesse Minter and Anthony Weaver, who've both head coach interviews the last 2 years since leaving Baltimore. Obviously, calling the plays for the Chargers and the Dolphins defenses. The Bills, like again, Joe Brady's going to get a head coaching interview there. Brian Dable is like interested to see what direction they go there. I'm fascinated. I don't know what they're going to do. I really can't because obviously you might want to try and have the same sort of message, same sort of play style, and just hope that this guy can sort of tweak a few things, or you just go completely different. The Steelers, I think they'll do what they'll go for a young defensive guy as they've always done. If I'm being honest,
Mike McCarthy's the rumor, though, isn't he? But
yeah, well, that's obviously he's a Steelers fan. I've seen everything there. Yeah, if I'm the Steelers, I go and hire Brian Flores. Even with the lawsuit and everything, I'll go hire Brian Flores. He's been in the organisation before. He had that year after he sued the NFL with Tomlin, where he just basically sat and learned from Tomlin. And he is the best defensive play caller. That's not a head coach in the NFL as well. So I'd go and hire Brian Flores if I'm Pittsburgh, if I'm being honest. Again, like Robert Saleh wasn't the person who was talking about for that job. Obviously, he's gone to the Titans now, but that's what I do. And yeah, the Browns, Cardinals, and Raiders are awful jobs. I would not want to take any of those jobs. Like
I think the Raiders is better than the other two because you're going to get the first overall pick. So you've got a quarterback for the next 2 or 3 years at least.
But the Raiders probably were the worst team.
They were the worst team.
Yeah, they were. But in terms of like how they played as well, they were bad. So yeah, again, I think that's probably the most attractive of the three. As you said, the Cardinals. Again, you don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be. The defense spent loads of money on it, disappointed, and then the offense was. Well, again, you've got a star player, Marvin Harrison, who's not had a great start to his career. And then the Browns, again, you don't know who the quarterback's going to be. The defense is great, but again, their offensive personnel is one of the worst in the league. I wouldn't go near those jobs. But again, someone that might not feel like they're going to get another job. For example, again, I mentioned Anthony Weaver for the Ravens job. He was in Cleveland before in his career as well. If he fancies that job, feels like he might not get a head coaching interview again. So someone like that may take that job. I felt those two, Browns and Cardinals, I'm fascinated to see who are going to get those jobs. I couldn't call it. Just to finish, are there any sort of jobs here that you feel like someone could be a fit that I've not mentioned?
Nathan Shieldhouse, who's the assistant head coach in LA for the Rams, I think is the type of person Cleveland would want to hire. He's a name, definitely. Chris Shula, Rams again. Chris Shula as well. I think the DC for the Rams. I think he's got connections to Pittsburgh front office, so that could make sense. But the one for me that even I've heard some rumors about is Davis Webb, the ex-player.
I feel old. Like seeing him in the head coach interviews, like in his early 30s. I feel old because I remember him coming into the league and now he's the head coach.
He'd be the first head coach hired when they're hired that's younger than me. So but I think the Bills seem to really like him. So if Dable doesn't get the Bills job, it could be someone else, of course. But if Dable doesn't get it, there's a lot of rumors around Davis Webb. So yeah, I think Davis Webb, Shieldhouse, Shula, and the one that I think you'll bang on with, I think Jesse Minter will get. I think he will get the Ravens job. I'd be very surprised if it's anyone but Jesse Minter for that job. But the others, I think, are fascinating. I think the Browns job is probably the worst job. So good. The Cardinals is probably the worst job. So I think the Cardinals will be like a Vance Joseph, Matt Nagy.
Wait, wasn't he head coach of the Cardinals before? Vance Joseph. That's where he went to be.
He was the Broncos head coach, wasn't he?
Oh no, then he went to the Cardinals afterwards. After he got fired with the Broncos.
DC.
Yes, you're right there.
Yeah, he went to DC. Yeah.
That was
someone
it.
like that. I think I'd be surprised if the Cardinals can attract up and coming coach. I think it'll be more of a retread. But yeah, I think we've said some good names there. But yeah, crazy off season. Next season's going to be mad. predicting how some of these teams are going to play with brand new people. So yeah, it's exciting, but yeah, we'll see.
Right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. I've been Sam Ballsy, been Liam Horsley. This has been the 14 Yards NFL podcast, and I will see you when we know the two teams that will contest Super Bowl 60. Have a great Championship Sunday. Enjoy the football, and I'll see you to break it all down next week. Goodbye for now.